$7. That's it. That's all Dwayne Johnson had in his pocket after being cut from the Canadian Football League.
Wow. Yeah.
Sounds like hitting rock bottom.
Yeah.
Right? But incredibly, it wasn't the end. It was actually the spark, the start of something massive.
A truly unexpected beginning.
Exactly. Welcome to the deep dive. We take a source, like today, this detailed account of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's life, and we really pull out the key insights, the surprising bits, basically the DNA of how he got to where he is.
And we know you want to get the full picture, but, efficiently.
That's the mission. We're giving you that deep understanding of his whole journey, from the early struggles right up to the global icon status. We'll pinpoint those moments, those mindset shifts that made it all possible.
It's quite a story.
It really is. We'll cover the tough childhood that switched from football to the electric world of wrestling, breaking into Hollywood against the odds, and the legacy he's building. It's all about turning failure into fuel.
It's fascinating, that $7 moment. You think about having absolutely nothing and how that feeling, that desperation, can become this incredibly powerful driver, not just for bouncing back, but for sustained success across so many different areas.
Yeah, what does it do to you psychologically? It must light a fire.
Absolutely. It's a profound turning point.
So let's go back, way back. Dwayne Douglas Johnson, born May 2nd, 1972, Hayward, California. And wrestling. It was basically in his DNA.
Right. His dad, Rocky Johnson, was a big name in pro wrestling.
And his mom, Ada, her family was pure wrestling royalty from Samoa. Her dad was High Chief Peter Mavia, a legend.
So, yeah, born into it, you could say. But the path wasn't exactly laid out with roses.
No, not at all. The source material really highlights how much they moved around because of his dad's wrestling career. Always the new kid.
Think about that. Struggling to make friends, feeling kind of lost. But, looking back, that constant change probably built some serious adaptability. Resilience, too. Getting comfortable with new situations.
Skills you definitely need in entertainment, that's for sure.
Absolutely. And it wasn't just moving. There were real money problems.
Yeah, the source talks about the eviction. Hawaii, he was 14. Getting kicked out of their apartment, that's got to leave a mark.
Oh, huge. It wasn't just embarrassing, it sounds like a deep shock. The source suggests that specific moment became this, core memory for him. He vowed then and there it would never, ever happen again.
That feeling of insecurity becomes this, primal drive, doesn't it?
It really does. That fear of vulnerability, of going back to that, you can almost see it fueling his work ethic later on, his business drive, that need for security. It wasn't just ambition. It was escaping something painful.
And then his teenage years. Well, let's just say they weren't smooth sailing either.
No, the source mentions quite a bit of trouble. Fights at school, getting arrested a few times, theft, fighting.
He was a big kid, physically imposing, but clearly heading down the wrong path. Makes you think, what if?
Right, but then there's this crucial moment. A teacher steps in, sees something in him, maybe.
Yeah, encouraged him to channel that energy, that physicality into football.
And that intervention, that single person believing in him, it seems like it was absolutely pivotal. It gave him a positive outlet, a structure. It really shows the power of mentorship, doesn't it?
Totally. And football became his thing. He was good in high school, really good. Good enough to get that scholarship to the University of Miami.
Which was huge. Miami Hurricanes football, that was a powerhouse program back then.
You worked hard, totally dedicated.
Yeah.
But the source points out he wasn't the star. He was on a team with guys like Warren Sapp, future NFL legends.
Right, so overshadowed a bit, spent a lot of time on the bench, apparently.
Yeah. So even getting to that level, there was this feeling of, not quite reaching the absolute top himself. Still an amazing achievement, though.
Oh, definitely. But maybe that experience, not being the main guy despite the hard work, taught him something else about competition, perseverance when you're not number one. Maybe the limits of just talent alone adds another layer to his story.
Then came the shot at pro football. Canadian Football League, Calgary Stampeders. This was supposed to be it.
His big break.
And then cut after just 2 months. And that's when he ends up with just $7 in his pocket.
Oof, that's gotta hurt. The source describes it as just shattering, a total collapse of his dream at that moment. Real depression set in, understandably.
That $7 moment, it's not just about the money, is it? It's the symbol of hitting absolute rock bottom.
Exactly. It's visceral. But what's incredible, and the source really emphasizes this, is that somehow, instead of just giving up, he used it. It became this forced pivot point.
Speaks volumes about his inner strength, right?
Okay.
To reframe total failure like that.
Absolutely. And where does he pivot? Back to the family business, wrestling.
Given his dad and grandfather were legends, it almost feels inevitable looking back, though maybe he resisted it at first.
Perhaps. But with the football door closed, wrestling offered, well, a world he knew, a history, connections, a potential path forward, even if it wasn't his first choice.
So he dives in, training starts. And not just anywhere, but at the legendary, maybe infamous Hart Dungeon in Canada. Stu Hart's place.
Yeah, the source makes it clear that was no walk in the park. Brutal training. Physically, mentally designed to break you down and build you back up tough.
This wasn't some celebrity shortcut. He earned his stripes the hard way.
Definitely. That Hart Dungeon experience, that would have been foundational. Learning the craft, the psychology, the sheer toughness needed.
Then comes his WWF debut as Rocky Maivia, named after his dad and grandfather.
Right. The clean-cut, smiling, blue chipper, third-generation good guy.
And the fans hated it.
Haha, yeah. Booze. Chance of Rocky sucks. The sources, they saw him as, bland, maybe inauthentic, too corporate, maybe.
Fascinating, isn't it? You give them the wholesome hero, and they just reject it. A tough early lesson in show business.
But a valuable one, because instead of crumbling, he learned from it. He realized even that negative reaction was engagement. He understood he needed to connect differently.
Which led to one of the great reinventions in entertainment history, the birth of The Rock.
Oh yeah, flipping the script entirely, becoming the villain, the trash talker, the eyebrow-raising, charismatic force of nature.
The source zeroes in on the catchphrases. If you smell what The Rock is cooking, know your role and shut your mouth. Finally, The Rock has come back too. It was electric.
It was pure charisma unleashed. He tapped into something raw, something authentic to him that the good guy role just smothered. Those catchphrases weren't just lines, they were the character. They built this larger-than-life persona.
And boy, did it work. The late 90s, he just exploded.
Absolutely rocketed to the top, winning championships, main eventing huge shows.
Those rivalries. Stone Cold Steve Austin, Triple H, The Undertaker. I mean, the source lists the absolute icons of the era. He was right there in the mix, often stealing the show.
He became more than a wrestler. He was a pop culture phenomenon. His command of the microphone, the charisma, the connection with the crowd, whether they loved him or hated him, it was just off the charts. Those feuds were epic storytelling.
And even when Hollywood started calling, which we'll get to, the source notes he didn't just ditch wrestling. He stayed connected.
Right, that part-time role, returning for big matches, it was smart. Kept that connection to his original fan base, reminded people where he came from.
Yeah, very strategic. It built trust, didn't it? Showed loyalty.
Definitely. Leveraged that massive wrestling audience as he stepped into the acting world. Okay, so Hollywood, it starts smallish, right?
Sort of. His role as the Scorpion King in The Mummy Returns, 2001.
Hmm.
Not the lead, but he made a big impression.
Yeah, the source says people noticed. They saw screen presence, charisma that translated beyond the wrestling ring. It created buzz.
Enough buzz that they gave him his own movie the next year, The Scorpion King, 2002, his first leading role.
That was the big launch pad, wasn't it? Headlining his own film right away. A huge gamble, really.
But it paid off. It established him as a viable action star, proved he could carry a movie.
Still, there was skepticism, right? The source mentions that. Wrestler turned actor. It's a tough transition. People wondered about his range. Would he just be the action guy?
Yeah, the typecasting danger was real, but he seemed very aware of it. He made some smart, deliberate choices.
Like the game plan in 2007, the family comedy. That was a calculated risk, wasn't it?
Totally. Showed a different side, proved he'd do comedy, connect with a different audience, and it worked. The source points to that film as really changing perceptions.
And after that, the roles got more varied. You see things like Tooth Fairy, G.I. Joe, During 2. The source uses these examples to show him branching out, proving his versatility.
He wasn't just sticking to one lane. He was building a broad appeal across genres, becoming genuinely bankable.
And then a really interesting move, starting his own production company in 2012, $7 Productions.
Named after that moment, that's $7. Incredible. The source highlights this as him taking control. Not just being an actor for hire, but shaping his own projects, building his own brand, his own legacy. That's entrepreneurial thinking.
Absolutely. It gave him creative control, allowed him to develop projects for himself and others in movies and TV. A major power move.
Speaking of TV, Ballers on HBO. That was big.
Yeah.
Started in 2015. He starred, he produced.
Right. Another successful venture in a different medium. Proved he could anchor a hit series, reach audiences week after week, showcase that business side too.
And the business ventures kept expanding beyond entertainment. The source mentions his partnerships, like with Under Armour, which were huge.
And launching his own tequila, Terramana, which has been incredibly successful.
It shows a really sharp understanding of branding, doesn't it? Leveraging his image, his connection with fans into totally different markets.
Definitely. It's strategic. He built this brand of authenticity, hard work, relatability, and then extended it into products that align with that.
And year after year, you see him named by Forbes as one of the highest paid actors globally. That's not luck.
No way. That's the result of talent, sure, but also that relentless work ethic we talked about and really smart business decisions. He knows his value. He's a major force.
And finally, something the source really emphasizes is his social media game. It's massive.
Oh, it's masterful. Millions and millions of followers. He uses it to connect directly, share motivational stuff, behind-the-scenes glimpses, promote everything he does.
It feels very direct, very personal. Like he bypasses the usual celebrity machine and just talks to people.
And that authenticity, or at least the perception of it, is key. It builds that strong bond, reinforces the brand, makes people feel invested in his success. It's a huge part of his empire.
So when we look at the big picture, his legacy, the source keeps coming back to perseverance, that refusal to quit.
It's the core message, isn't it? From the CFL cut to the initial Rocky Sucks chants to the Hollywood skepticism, he just kept pushing. Setbacks weren't roadblocks, they were detours, fuel.
The never give up thing feels genuine with him because you see the evidence throughout his story.
Exactly. And then there's the authenticity factor we just mentioned. The source suggests his willingness to be open, share struggles, not just the wins, makes him relatable.
In a world of polished perfection, that vulnerability connects, right? Makes his success seem, well, maybe not easy, but earned, more credible.
Absolutely. And we should mention the barrier-breaking aspect. The source points out he was the first Black third-generation wrestler to hit that level of mainstream Hollywood stardom.
That's significant. Opens doors, changes perceptions for others coming after him.
Definitely. And beyond his own career, there's the Giving Back, the Dwayne Johnson Rock Foundation.
Right, focused on helping at-risk kids, terminal ill children. The source makes it clear this isn't just for show. There's a real commitment there.
Using that massive platform for philanthropy, for making a tangible difference, it adds another dimension to his legacy.
And you can't ignore his impact on fitness, can you? The source touches on that too. He's inspired millions.
Yeah, just by sharing his own insane dedication, his workouts, he's become this accidental global fitness guru, promoting physical strength, mental toughness.
And the final piece the source highlights is family. He talks about being a father, shares family moments. It humanizes the global superstar.
It grounds him, shows a balance between the massive career and personal values. Resonates with a lot of people.
So you put it all together. It's this incredible story of resilience, of constantly reinventing himself, of just sheer hard work paying off. From literally $7 to global icon. It's quite the ride.
It really is. The key takeaways seem to be that unwavering grit, the ability to adapt and pivot, and understanding that success isn't just about you, it's about authenticity, connection, maybe giving back too.
And for you listening, we hope this deep dive gave you not just the story, but maybe some inspiration. That idea that even hitting rock bottom can be the solid ground you need to build something amazing.
A powerful thought.
So here's something to chew on. Dwayne Johnson keeps evolving, keeps moving into new arenas. Thinking about his journey, what totally unexpected field could you see him making a real impact in next? And what core principles from his story do you think would make him successful there?
Interesting question. Where does he go next?
Definitely something to ponder. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.